Welcome to the Bev Museum. I'm Beverley Gibson, Curator of Ubuhle Women, Beadwork and the Arts of Independence, and co-founder of Ubuhle. It's my pleasure to guide you through a virtual highlights tour of this exhibition. Keep in mind there's much more to see in person, and we hope that you will join us on site soon to explore the exhibition in its entirety, before it closes on August the 27th, 2023. Whilst you're here, you will also discover 8 permanent collection galleries currently on display from around the globe. Visit bowers.org for tickets and more information to start planning your trip today. Ubuhle Women, Beadwork and the Art of Independence tour is developed by the Smithsonian Anacostia Community Museum, Washington, D.C., in cooperation with James Green and myself from Ubuhle under Portia James, and is organized for tour by International Arts and Artists, Washington, D.C. Dress for the Dance by Ubuhle Women. We need to thank Mark from the Bev Museum for having this piece here, because he had reminded me that the exhibition was now 10 years old and that it would be interesting to see the way in which these artists have developed. Dress for the Dance is an exquisite piece done by Ubuhle Women in celebration of her daughter who has matriculated, which is finishing school in South Africa, and is preparing for her graduation dance. One would think that this is a bull when in fact it is a female cow. The Ankole cow, which is an African breed, has these impressive horns. The female, who is slight in stature, has these magnificent horns, which are all the more impressive. Ubuhle focuses on these horns, which are typically white, by creating a pattern that is pink and green. It's an intricate pattern and absolutely beautiful. By using the horns and emphasizing them, she is telling you that her daughter is now strong and ready to face the world. The piece in itself is a celebration. When you look at the detail, when you look at the gorgeous gold, the clash of colors, which is so typical of Ubuhle, one can only imagine being at the celebration and enjoying it with the family. When looking at this piece, one will notice the patterning that Ubuhle Women has always used. You will notice this patterning in all her works. In this work, she has used the tiny 11-0 beads. The detail in this animal is incredible. By using the bigger beads amongst the tiny beads, one can see the difference in the beadwork, but it also creates highlights and focus. When you look at this piece, you can only imagine a celebration. You can only imagine a mother so proud and a daughter strong and ready to face the world. What is also interesting in this piece is that she repeats the patterning of the horn in a flower that she has put on the side. That connection of the horns and yet her daughter, the flower, is also relevant. Ntombepi Ntombela, co-founder of Ubuhle and the most exceptional, incredible woman. She has very generously shared her skills and taught other people the skill of beading. She is a master beader. She is a generous woman, she is a strong woman, and she is no doubt one of the reasons, well, the main reason why Ubuhle is what it is today. This piece I've chosen to speak about because not only does it use the colors that she so loves, the blues and the whites and the silvers, with a little bit of red, it is also a seascape, for which she is most famous for. And then it also tells a little bit about why the Ndwango is so important and how it has acted as therapy in so many cases. We had been asked to do a series of works by a gallery in New York called Ameridian, and was in response to a person who was doing indigo dyeing. He had sent the women pieces of photographs of himself dyeing the cloth, and Nduna was fascinated by the way in which the cloth changed blues when it was exposed to the air. In the same way in which her beads change colors and hues, depending which bead she partners them with and depending on the light. Very, very sadly, after we'd received this commission, Bongiswa and Timbani passed away. and it was a time of great sadness for us. The women would normally have gone home to be with their mother and to their ancestral home to mourn their sisters. However, their commitment to this work was such, and the determination to finish this commission, the mother joined us on Little Farm, instead of the women going home to her. And it was during this time that the children of Tembani and Bongiswa, as well as the children of Zandile, Tando, Zondlile, and Nduna, sat around and listened to the stories that their mothers told of their childhood, growing up, and the incredible of their home, of Bazana, of the Eastern Cape. They heard about their mother as a young woman, and instead of focusing on the death and the sadness, they were able to heal. And whilst the women beaded these tapestries, so they beaded the stories into these tapestries. They also beaded her emotion, her incredible sadness. She calls it her tears, because these are her tears. The red is significant of her sister. They were her blood, and they had passed away. The dark, this very, very dark bit here, is when the sadness just overwhelms her, and she just sees it as this almost hole within her. Nduna has always known the importance of water. As a young girl, she would have known what it was like to walk 5 kilometers to fetch a bucket of water and 5 kilometers to carry it home. She knew what we are only realizing now. But it's more than that. She believes that we are all made of water, that water is the essence of life. We exist because of water. She also says that we are all blue. So you'll see a series of trees that she's done, as well as her Sangoma bull, and they're all blue, because under our skin, we are all water, and we are all the same. This gorgeous, gorgeous and curly cow, which Tando chose because she felt that it represented her mother, is a wonderful example of the patterning that Tando uses. Tando will often use one color, and just simply by the change of direction of the beading, so it changes the form and creates the patterns which she so loves. Tando is a person who thinks very deeply about life, and she loves Ubuhle because it allows her to give her the time in which she can sit quietly on her own while she is beading to process thoughts. When you look at this piece, you will first see, if you come quite close up to the works, which you are allowed to do, is you'll see the way in which, even though it looks like one color, which it is, separated by the dots of other colors, there is a lot of movement within this piece by changing the directions of the beads. When you look down here, you'll see these perfect circles that she does. She calls them the circle of life. And she believes that each one of us has our own circle, our own purpose. When you look down across here on this side of the piece, you will once again see the incredible way in which she has included these circles, yet using the same color, which she has created by mixing different beads of different colors, and yet the circles remain distinctly different from the background waves just by changing the direction of the beads. For me, there's an incredible sophistication in being able to do that, especially when you think and you look at the detail within this, and you realize that she hasn't drawn a single circle. All of these have existed in her head. And the skill and the talent to be able to do that is exceptional. The gorgeous, fun nature of the Ankoli cow is probably deceptive of the amount of thought and work and emotions that exist within this piece. The trunk of the tree is set back, and she uses these much bigger beads to create a 3D impact. It's quite extraordinary. Tando does dedicate this to her mother. She talks about her mother as being the strong woman, a woman who was such an example to her. Tando will often say, for as long as she has 2 hands, she'll never be hungry. With Tando, you know that in spite of many, many challenges that she has faced, she will never ever see herself a victim, as will none of the women of Ubuhle. Once again, we have Mark to thank for this exceptional piece being part of the exhibition. This is a recent piece by Zandile Ntobela. During COVID, when we were all stuck in our lockdowns, Zandile did a series of roosters, and she gave them human characters. And they're absolutely gorgeous. Everybody wants to own a rooster. And she did it from the politician, which she had crowing with these flamboyant feathers to the Bugamina, which translated means look at me, the vain person flapping its wings. And she then did this gorgeous piece, which is herself. And even though it's a rooster, not a hen, it is Zandile. And she calls it looking back. The rooster is looking back, and as she says, looking back at her life, looking back at the way in which her life has changed, looking back at how her children have grown, looking back at the way in which her beadwork has changed. When we first started beading the ndwangos, we used different sized beads, but the smallest bead was called an 11-0. And when we managed to get the Miyuki beads, there was a bead called the 15-0. And when the artists first saw the 15-0, they said there's absolutely no ways that they would be beading that. However, the colors were irresistible. And the women soon learned to choose those colors and include them in their beadwork. These beads are so tiny that when the women use them, it's almost as if the beadwork becomes fluid. It is also almost, as Zandile would tell me often, that at the end of the day, when you look at your beadwork, it's as if you have done nothing because the beads are so tiny. She has used those beads in this piece, and the gold beads that she includes in the rooster's body, which is her, are the Miyuki beads. I have spoken about it as how Ubuhle during the last 25 years have had times which have been really tough and hard. And yet now, as we start seeing the light and the women are enjoying more and more fame and people are wanting to collect the work, so the rewards are greater. Zandile has used this gorgeous tiny Miyuki gold bead in the body of the rooster, and it's a celebration. Back when we first started creating the ndwango, there wasn't a demand, and we fought really, really hard for it to be recognized as art, as contemporary art by African women. This has, of course, radically changed, and contemporary art by African women is sought after. The celebration of that, the joy that this has given Zandile as she looks back on her life and what she's achieved and the path that she has walked to this, is evident in the beauty, the celebration, the colors of the rooster. The African crucifixion, you really do need to get to the bows to see this piece. Docents have wonderful knowledge about the work, so what I'm going to be telling you is just a tiny part of it. The piece was commissioned by an incredible man, the very Reverend Fred Patu, and his idea behind it was the tree of defeat becomes the tree of life, and where hope was lost, so hope is restored. It tells an incredible story about our history and at times the women's history. The person who worked on the Christ was Tembani, and it was the last piece that she completed before she sadly died. The face, when you look at the Christ, is an expression of peace. To achieve this expression, she worked and reworked the beads, and it's quite extraordinary when you manage to have a close-up look at the face. The whole idea behind Tembani's Christ was a man who lived a life of purpose and therefore died at peace. And for Tembani, this is what the Christ was to her. It was somebody that she identified with. She sees beadwork and being able to create the ndwango, the reaction to her work, the purpose that it gives her life. That allows Tembani to die at peace. She saw this Christ and the completion of this Christ as the legacy that she leaves. This is her gift to her children, to her country, to Ubuhle, and now, of course, to all of you who are honored by being able to see this extraordinary work. We hope that you enjoyed our virtual tour of Ubuhle Women, Beadwork and the Art of Independence. To see the full exhibition, please consider visiting the Bev Museum in person and enjoy one of our several exhibition-related programs being offered while you are here. Details of events and how to plan your visit can be found at bowers.org. Thank you, as always, for your support.